Good morning and welcome to News Lounge. I'm Miles Maguire.
And I'm Holly Fallon. Good morning.
And joining us today is our sports and weather man, Connor Tobin. What have you got for us today, Connor?
Morning, guys. Well, coming up in the sport, we've got a cool story for all the squash fans out there, as well as news this weekend of all the Australian football teams teaming together to raise money for ovarian cancer research. So all coming up in the sports wrap.
Good stuff. Sounds great. We're also joined by Beth Mole later in the show. She's from the Queensland Nurses Union to talk about the job losses here in Queensland. So it'll be a very hot topic.
It's been an issue that's been in the media a lot lately, but for now I'll be heading over to Rebecca with the news. How are you going today, Rebecca?
Great, thank you. Great to be here for another morning. Making news today, Wednesday, the 27th of November 2012. Dozens of emotional people turned out to State Parliament on Tuesday to hear Premier Campbell Newman officially apologise to victims of forced adoptions during the 1950s to 70s. Opposition leader Anastasia Palaszczuk told the emotional story of Margaret Oakhill Hamilton, which she labelled as unforgivable. 63-year-old victim Harold Poole was moved to tears, saying the emotional apology was the icing on the cake at the end of the journey. Aboriginal activists claim the native title system is flawed, as mining companies rob Indigenous Australian communities of their share in mineral wealth. Protesters rallied outside the Stanford Plaza Hotel in Brisbane yesterday, where native title bureaucrats are holding talks with mining companies and the government. Rallies will continue today. Alleged wife killer Gerard Baden-Clay could be home for Christmas after his lawyers lodged a new bail application to the Supreme Court, arguing the brief of evidence doesn't support all of the claims made by the prosecution. Mr. Baden-Clay has been incarcerated at Brisbane's Arthur Gorrie Correctional Centre since June after being charged with the murder of his wife Alison. The application will be heard on the 14th of December. Investigations into the murder of a person found in a bag near Tumblegum on the weekend have found the remains of a middle-aged man. The body has been taken to the morgue in Newcastle for a post-mortem examination. The gruesome find came just days after the body of local fisherman Mark Napiarax was found floating a short distance away. Police say the two incidents are unrelated. Anyone with information should contact Crime Stoppers. The draft of the new Brisbane City Plan has come under fire after it's revealed a lack of big-ticket road projects. The draft revealed the new project aims to focus on road upgrades on about 250 local roads over the next 20 years. After unveiling the plan last week, Lord Mayor Graham Quirk confirmed no new toll projects were planned and the focus was on addressing localised traffic issues in key growth areas. Labor backbencher Kirsten Livermore, the party's only federal MP in regional Queensland, has announced her retirement from the seat of Capricornia in the next election. Miss Livermore has held the seat through 5 elections since 1998. This says she has every confidence local members will choose an appropriate replacement. She says Labor needs a younger person to take up the challenge, and she made the decision so she could spend more time with her family. A bait made from the less toxic parts of cane toads and a nausea-inducing salt is being used in Western Australia to train native fauna not to eat the poisonous toads. The bait was placed in front of the cameras throughout the Kimberley region in order to capture the animals' responses to the bait, which smells and tastes like a toad but induces nausea after ingested. The trials are being run jointly by the Western Australian Department of Environment and Conservation and the University of Sydney, who hope the taste aversion tactic will prevent wildlife from being killed by toads. A 20-year-old man has been bitten by a shark at a Mooloolaba beach yesterday. He's in a stable condition in hospital with puncture wounds to his left ankle after the attack. Despite the attack, lifeguards at Mooloolaba said there had been no shark sightings yesterday. The Ipswich community showed its true spirit yesterday, coming together for the Cancer Council's annual Relay for Life to celebrate cancer survivors and remember those who have lost their fight. Ipswich City Mayor Paul Pasali donated $2,000 on behalf of Ipswich City Council, tipping the year's fundraising to a staggering $1 million. Mayor Pasali was named this year's patron of the event, which is an 18-hour relay walk or run to raise money for the Cancer Council. Tomorrow morning, Marsden State School students will take a stand against childhood obesity and environmental pollution by travelling to school on foot or bike. Hickory, Lisa and Kim Streets will be closed off on Thursday the 29th of November from 2:45 to 8:30 to ensure all students arrive to school safely. Get Everybody Moving Day is an annual event organised by the Queensland Government as part of their new Travel Smart initiative. English celebrity chef Jamie Oliver will be bringing his Ministry of Food to the Gold Coast with the help of the Newman government. The Ministry of Food successfully opened in Ipswich last year, with then Premier Anna Bligh offering assistance and pledging free cooking classes. The Newman government is joining with the Good Guys and the Gold Coast City Council to back the Gold Coast cooking classes. It's not yet known whether Jamie himself will make an appearance at the event. The prototype for the world's fastest commercial train has been released in Japan, with rail operators planning to have the train operational by 2027. Designed by J.R. Tokai, the levitating high-speed train is capable of reaching up to 500 kilometers per hour and, instead of wheels, operates on an electromagnetic cushion for levitation and propulsion. The 28-meter-long train will be able to cover 322 kilometers in just 40 minutes. It's set to cover one of Japan's busiest routes and may be expanded to cover Osaka by 2045. And that's all I have for the news today, but I'll be back later in the program with some more news. But now, back to you.
Thanks, Beck.
Beck. Jamie Oliver.
Are you a fan of Jamie?
Is he the dream man? He can cook.
Not
he
me,
does so
Holly.
much work for the community.
I've got his 15-minute cookbook, so
I
feel
had
like
the
I can,
30-minute book, so
practice.
I use my 30-minute book like my Bible.
Yeah, I need to work up to 30 minutes. I've only got like to the quarter of an hour at the moment. But
you need more time management skills to get that 30 minutes up.
Speaking of cooking, actually, I booked myself into the Golden Pig. That cooking
excellent.
class that you were interviewing Katrina Ryan about last week. So I'm really looking forward to
well,
that
you'll have to
one.
let us know how it goes. But over to Connor now with the weather. What have you got for us today, Connor?
Thanks, Miles. Well, the temperature in Brisbane is staying in the low 30s this week, peaking at 34 degrees on Saturday. So apart from the odd thundery shower, great weather for today. Today in Brisbane will be mostly fine with some late thundery rain and light to moderate north to northeasterly winds. We can expect a top of 32 degrees today in the city and 29 on the Bayside. The Gold Coast will be mostly fine with a possible late shower or storm and a top of 29. The Sunshine Coast will also experience a mostly fine day with some possible thundery rain and a top of 29. Ipswich is in for a mostly fine day with a possible shower or storm and a top of 35. Around the state, Cairns can expect a fine and mostly sunny day with a top of 32. Fine and possible showers for Townsville and 32. Mackay, a shower or two and 31. Rockhampton, fine and partly cloudy, 32 degrees there. Mount Isa will have a few showers or storm with a warm top of 38. In our capital cities now, Sydney has the chance of a storm with a max of 25. Melbourne's partly cloudy with a top of 27. Canberra has a chance of a storm and also a top of 27. A chance of early drizzle in Hobart and 20. Sunny in Adelaide and 37 degrees. Perth's in for a windy day with a few showers and storms and a max of 22. And Darwin will get an afternoon shower or storm with a top of 34 degrees. That's all for the weather, guys.
Thanks, Connor.
Thanks,
No worries.
Connor.
Well, after the break, we'll be bringing you Beth Mole of the Queensland Nurses Union, who will be talking to us about the recent job cuts in the public sector. It's the second wave of job cuts since the Newman government came into
it's
power.
absolutely terrible. I know quite a few people affected, so it'll be a very interesting interview to hear more about what's happening behind the scenes.
Exactly.
With it all. So don't go away. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to News Lounge. Now, since the LNP cut jobs in the public sector of almost 15,000 workers back in September, we're now in our second cycle of the downsizing in certain healthcare facilities, asking for volunteer redundancies. The question now is, how will Queenslanders cope with this job cut?
That's right. Here to talk to us today about the issue is Beth Mole, the Secretary of the Queensland Nurses Union. Good morning, Beth.
Good morning.
So, Beth, what exactly is the purpose of these job cuts? Like, what is the Newman government trying to achieve in getting rid of really, really important public service roles?
Well, prior to the 24th of March election, the government had said that our jobs would be safe. Indeed, there was a promise of more nurses and less red tape. So that's what our members went into the election, and a lot of our members would have voted for the Newman government, thinking that there wouldn't be any problems with their job security. Unfortunately, that's proved not to be the case, and we're now facing in Queensland Health 2,000 2,754 jobs are going to be cut. A significant proportion of those, about 1,400 or 1,500, were from the old corporate office of Queensland Health, but the remainder are coming from service delivery land, so from the 17 hospital and health service networks. And I can tell you that they are affecting nursing and midwifery positions.
Beth, you said you've been in this industry for nearly 20 years, was it?
Yes.
Has this come to an absolute shock to you?
Well, I've worked at the Nurses Union for 20 years and in nursing and midwifery for many more years than that, and this is the first time I've ever seen that nurses and midwives are fearing for their jobs. I mean, nurses and midwives think that they've got a job for life, and that's what everybody says to people: when you go into nursing, you'll always have a job. Unfortunately, our members are just absolutely gobsmacked by what's happening to them. They just can't understand it, particularly given that in the next couple of years, Queensland Health's going to be building a lot of new facilities, and by their own numbers, they need an additional 5,000 or 6,000 nurses to open those new facilities. So it's just sort of absolutely incomprehensible to our members that that's the case, and I never thought I'd see the day when nurses and midwives wouldn't have job security.
Yeah, so they're building more and cutting less jobs. How will that work? What are you saying for the future nurses out studying at the moment? What's your advice to them?
Well, there's a real issue right now for new graduates as well. We've got about 2,700 nurses who are graduating who have applied for jobs at Queensland Health now, and at this time only 10% of those nurses have been offered positions. So some of those will be picked up in the private sector, but not very many of them. The vast majority of positions are in Queensland Health. But in the context of the job cuts that are happening, these poor new graduates just haven't got a hope. And so we've launched a campaign about that. It's about putting pressure on both the state and federal government to stop passing the buck and to actually make sure that all new graduates have jobs, because in a few years' time, we're going to need every single one of them we can get our hands on.
Yeah. What are some of the direct outcomes of these job cuts on the healthcare system itself and for patients in hospitals?
Well, right now, unfortunately, we're working on a case-by-case basis. There's 17 hospital and health services, and they're all doing it differently. So the first cab off the rank was Townsville Hospital and Health Service, where they've announced that they'll be cutting around 200 positions. 45 of those are nursing positions. So one of the positions that's going is the person who coordinates medevac retrievals for Queensland Health, so medical evacuations from the area. Another one is a respiratory nurse who's an expert in that field, who helps coordinate TB cases and the like, and treatment of those people within Queensland Health. So there's a lot of positions that are going now as we speak. So that's just Townsville. In Mackay,
and really crucial jobs.
Really, absolutely crucial. In Mackay, I was up there just last month for the Queensland Council of Unions executive meeting up there, and on the day that we were there and holding a protest about the job cuts out in front of the hospital, they announced that they were cutting the whole of their chronic diseases team from Mackay Hospital. Now that's 5 nurses who have worked there, who keep people well, who keep people out of hospital. They manage their chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes and the like. Now they're without a job. Plus we've got what's happening in state government nursing homes across the state. There's 20 state government nursing homes. There's 2 of those that have been announced, 3 actually, that have announced to be closed.
There was one just recently, wasn't there?
Yes, there was, the Eventide at Brighton, and we had a protest about that at last weekend. Moreton Bay Nursing Care Unit down at Wynnum Way, and Far Home in Kingaroy. So 3 state government nursing homes already have been announced that they're going to be closing. Now the difficulty with that is that state government nursing homes, and there's 20 of them across the state, they actually care for the most complex residents, the ones that aren't catered for in the private sector. So at Eventide, for example, you've got double the number of registered nurses on staff there than you have in a like nursing home nearby in the private sector. That's because they've got particular high care needs. And I was talking to one of the residents' family at the weekend protest where he said that in the unit that his mother's living in, and that's a psychogeriatric unit, so that's a unit for people who have got complex psychiatric needs, but they're aged, so they're really quite a specific cohort of patients that need particular care and a lot of registered nurse care, so high level of care needs. it was impossible for them to find a position for their mother until she was able to get into Eventide. Yeah. She's been there for 18 months. She's finally settled in, but now it looks as if she's going to be effectively evicted from that nursing home. Right. And the important point for those residents is there's 14 beds in that unit, and they believe that their mother's the only person who has a family. The other 13 residents are effectively on their own, and the staff are their family. Yeah. So they're in the care of the adult guardian, and so effectively that's the state who is responsible for caring for these people, but another arm of the state is effectively saying, we haven't got a bed for you anymore.
Right. You'd hear some absolutely tragic stories, I'm guessing, of people just being booted out by the sounds of it.
Every day there's a new story coming in, and last week we heard that Southwest Hospital and Health Service, which is a really small hospital and health service, but provides a really incredibly important service, as all of our hospital and health services do, to the communities around Charleville and that sort of area. We thought they'd be immune from the cuts because they're pretty small, and indeed I had been speaking to the chair of that hospital and health service when they announced the Townsville cut. She contacted me and she was saying, we're trying to attract nurses and midwives to our area because we've got vacancies. So we said, well, thank you, but we're going to fight for every job in Townsville. But they did media at that time trying to attract people to their area. They've just announced last week that they have to find $6.2 million, which is a lot of money for their budget. So they're cutting positions now too, and the vast majority of the positions that they're cutting are nursing positions.
Yeah. Beth, just finally, what do you think the Newman government should be aiming to do instead of cutting all these valuable public sector jobs if they do really need to maximise budget efficiency within the department?
Well, we've already committed through our EB agreement to working with Queensland Health to actually find significant efficiencies in the system, because we think there's a lot of change that can be made, particularly with nurse and midwife-led programs that could save a lot of money and develop really efficient and effective services for the community. So we think that they should be working with their staff to find the savings rather than this slash and burn approach. Yeah. We don't accept there's a catastrophe in the state budget. That's one thing that we certainly don't accept. We think this is a choice that the government's making. Unfortunately, right now, they've got no goodwill from the staff because there's this sort of Damocles hanging over their head because they have no job security. So they should be working with their staff rather than threatening their jobs and indeed sacking some that have worked for Queensland Health for many, many years.
Beth.
Well, we're with you all the way there.
Yeah, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Time to go to a break now, but when we return, we're going to be joined by another guest, Naomi Price. She's a singer and actor, and they're just about to put together a very exciting Christmas production. Don't go away.
Welcome back to News Lounge. Well, now we're going to head over to Connor Tobin to see what he's got for us in the sports headlines. Thanks, Connor.
Thanks, guys. Some of the world's top tennis players will kick off the new year in Queensland at the Brisbane International. After more player announcements, Milos Raonic, Gilles Simon, Kei Nishikori and the 2012 Brisbane International runner-up Alexander Dolgopolov were all confirmed for the tournament, kicking off on the 30th of December. Crowd favourite Marcus Bagdatis and new Australian number 1 Marinko Matrosevic will also take part. In football, Brisbane Roar's goalkeeper Michael Theo is begging fans to remain loyal despite the team suffering its 5th loss of the season. The 2-1 defeat to Central Coast in Gosford has pushed the Roar to second last place on the team leaderboard. The team will play Newcastle on Saturday, but key players Matt Smith, Ivan Franchik and Ben Halloran are most likely to miss out due to commitments with the Socceroos in Hong Kong. Basketball player Daniel George has returned to training for the first time since his battle with cancer as the Spartans begin their pre-season preparations for 2013. George missed the most of the 2012 Southeast Australian Basketball League season as he underwent chemotherapy, but the star player was in great shape at the training session, running rings around fellow teammates. Spartans coach Rob Schneiber welcomes the news, saying George has the knockdown mid-range shot and the soft touch around the rim that the team needs heading into next season. Australian squash superstar Zach Alexander has been denied his 12th title in the men's professional squash tour in a thrilling 5-game battle against New Zealand's Campbell Grayson. Grayson and Alexander battled it out for over an hour and a half in the final of the Saskatoon Boost in Canada on Sunday. The Kiwi defeated Alexander in 3 of the 5 games. In local cricket, the Ipswich Division 1 competition has been a series of exciting events this season, and the weekend's matches were nothing different. The Occasionals claimed their first innings, forcing Wildcats to make bold sporting declaration of 27 in the second inning, and in the other match, the Sports secured maximum points against TC United by an innings and 22 runs. Jessica Fox led the team to the win, scoring 63 runs. Despite their defeat, TC United still lead the competition with 24 points overall. The Football Federation of Australia will have its inaugural Silver Round this weekend. All players will wear silver shoelaces, showing their commitment to fighting ovarian cancer and support for the thousands of women affected by the disease every year. On average, one Australian woman dies from the disease every 10 hours. Attendees at each of the 4 games in Sydney, Newcastle, Adelaide and Perth can make donations or buy their own shoelaces at the games. And that's all for the sport, guys. Isn't that a nice little idea with the silver shoelaces there? Raising money.
Right.
Most definitely. Thanks, Connor. We're joined by Naomi Price now. She's a singer and actor, and she's just started producing a new Christmas show in time for Christmas. Very exciting. Naomi, how are you going?
I'm good, thanks for having me.
Now tell us all about this fabulous production that you're putting together.
Well, it's called How to Make Snow, and it essentially follows the journey of a young boy who decides that for Christmas he's going to get his grandfather snow, and he goes on an amazing journey. And so the show basically follows, his adventures as he tries to fulfill the Christmas wish of his grandfather.
Excellent. And it's a show for the whole family? Or?
Yeah, it's for people of all ages. It's a musical production, so there are songs in it and big extravagant dance numbers, and we've got 54 young people in the cast, and they're joined by professional performers, Andre Rieu's beautiful soprano Marusha, Luke Kennedy from the Ten Tenors, and a local Brisbane actor called Brian Probitz, who just finished filming The Great Gatsby with Baz Luhrmann, so he's going to be performing in it too.
And it's a local event, isn't it? It's in West End here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's being performed at ERPAC, Edmund Rice Performing Arts Centre in South Brisbane, from the 20th to the 22nd of December. And you can find out all the information on qtix.com.au or by calling 136 246.
Beautiful. And you were saying before that you are English.
Yes.
Correct. And you wanted to bring that English snow Christmas to Brisbane. Tell us more about that. That was a really interesting thing you said.
Yeah, well, I've lived in Australia for 9 years now, and I've only had a couple of Christmases away from home, and I always found it really funny that Australians sing Christmas carols about White Christmas and Let It Snow, but it doesn't happen here. So I thought it would be really nice to produce a show that kind of encapsulates all of those really beautiful, whimsical things that we love about White Christmases, but make it relevant to an Australian audience. So we are actually going to make it snow inside the theatre for the show.
On the audience or just on the stage?
Yes, we might have some snow on the audience too. It would be unfair for them to go away from a show about snow and not get snowed on. So it's going to be really beautiful, and hopefully it'll get people in the Christmas spirit and kick off their Christmas celebrations.
Yeah, and you're a singer and actor yourself. Are you in the show? Or?
I'm not in the show, no. I'm producing this one, but I just recently finished touring with a show that I wrote called Rumour Has It, which is about the singer-songwriter Adele, and we just got back from Sydney 2 weeks ago, and we've been touring all around with that as well. So I've had my fair share of performing for the year, and happy to sit in the producer's chair now and bring this beautiful Christmas show to life.
And can you tell us a bit about your production company and some of the other creatives who are involved in putting the show together?
Yeah, definitely. The company's called The Little Red Company, and it's my production company, which kind of started completely accidentally because I kept getting asked to do work and didn't really have a company name, so we kind of accidentally started it, and from there we've produced the Adele show and now How to Make Snow. I'm working with Daniel Evans, who's a beautiful playwright, and he's also directing the show for us. Luke Kennedy is also music directing, along with Michael Manikis, who's the music director of the Ten Tenors. And then we have Josh McIntosh is designing. He's a wonderful Brisbane-based designer who does a lot of shows at QPAC, and I've worked with him a lot in the past. And we've got the beautiful Leah Shelton is going to be choreographing, and Leah works with Polytoxic, which is like a performance performance art collective, I suppose. And she's doing a great job doing lots of choreography with 54 kids and watering cans, beach balls, towels, you name it. We've got every prop you can imagine in the show. So
can you tell us a bit about the adventure the character goes on in the story? They go to lots of different places, don't they? And not just places with snow.
Yeah, well, he's an Australian boy with a European grandfather, so he starts off in his suburb and he goes on an amazing adventure, and leaving the suburbs a really big deal because, you know, people who leave the suburbs never come back. So he heads off into the city to see if he can buy snow, and winds up in, you know, this wonderful metropolis, and then from there he goes through a wide variety of different places, including, you know, a beach, a big storm happens, he goes to the jungle, he ends up in space. I mean, it's quite an adventure.
Wow.
But I won't ruin the ending for you. I won't tell you if he actually does just discover how to make snow, but you know, as with all journeys, sometimes it's not about, you know, where you end up, it's about what you learn while you're on it. So, you know, it's a 60-minute show as well, so it's you know, it's going to be an ideal length for kids to come and see. We really want to encourage, you know, really young kids to come along, as well as teenagers and then young families as well. So yeah, it's going to be fast paced and lots of crazy, you know, zany things happening on stage. But
Beautiful. How long have you been in production for it now?
This is week 5.
Okay.
So we've got 3 weeks to go, and it's all starting to come together now. We've been rehearsing the kids after school and at the weekends.
Actors, the little kids? Or?
Yeah, they're amazing. We've got an amazing 11-year-old boy who's playing our hero, and his name's Marco, and he's just the most confident, self-assured kid you've ever met in your life. You would just, you know, he's so natural. And then the other kids all have like an interest in theatre, and most of them do dance classes and things like that. But it's a fantastic opportunity to work with so many talented young artists, and then give them the creative development of working alongside people like Marusha and Brian, who are just, you know, so experienced and accomplished in their own careers. So,
were you involved with those people behind the scenes before you started this? I mean, there's some amazing people you've got on board.
Well, Marusha's just got back from touring for 5 years with Andre Rieu, and she's played almost every country in the world, I think. She speaks a million languages. She's wonderful, and she's actually a Brisbane girl. She grew up here, so this is her first Christmas at home after being on the road for 5 years. So she's really excited to be celebrating Christmas with her family. And I was just lucky enough to meet her through mutual friends, and she agreed to do the show. So very good for us.
Oh, Naomi, I'm definitely buying tickets.
Oh, good.
Beautiful.
Just qtix.com.au for all the information.
That's correct.
qtix.com.au for all the info. Great. Well, that's all we got time for today, but we'll see you at the same time tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye.